Thank you very much, sir. Please celebrate my dear Egbon. He promised me he was going to be very good with time. He tried. Celebrate him, please. Madam President told us earlier that this has become a pan-African event. And so whilst I was coming up stage, I saw my sister from South Africa, Mbali Ugo Mezulu. She is the manager of business development for MasterCard. Please let me celebrate her, please. Thank you so much for coming. Now, this is the time we've been waiting for. We want to dig into the talk, unlocking Africa's economic potential, and considering travel and tourism as a catalyst for intra-Africa business, investment, and trade. Now, this first person I'm going to be calling on stage, a lot of people have said a lot of things about him, but me, I'm feeling taller that I want to call him. Because you see, the truth of the matter is, I said it before he came. When all of those things started to happen, I was one of those who told myself and family, it's like, have you seen the whole of Africa? Have you seen the whole of Nigeria? You are not traveling anywhere again, no. Because this time, with this rate, there's no way we'll go. And so, sir, I want to personally thank you on behalf of myself and my family that you have allowed us to continue to travel. Because if no be so, we don't accept, say, we know they travel again because 4 million, 5 million. I say, eh? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is with a lot of pride that I call on stage Chairman, CEO of the biggest airline in Nigeria. Please, with a round of applause, this exceptional Nigeria, Dr. Allen Oyema, the CEO of Air Peace Nigeria. Please keep clapping until he gets here. Please. Whoa! Our own! Our own! Our own!
Thank you.
Check two. Check two.
Thank you. You're bringing tears to my eyes. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. The president, no, sorry. The Honorable Minister of Aviation, my brother Festus Keyamo, ably represented by another friend of mine, the Director of Air Transport Management, Mr. Hassan Ejibinu, Mrs. President of NANTA, my dear own sister, the Amazon of travel, Nigeria, Susan Aporaye. Mr. President, thank you for your kind words some few minutes ago. I really appreciate it. The members of the diplomatic mission here present, representatives of other stakeholders here present, please, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to stand on the existing protocol already established. First of all, I want to use this opportunity to thank members of the National Association of Nigerian Travel Agencies. Without you, airlines are nothing. Without you, every airline in this country or elsewhere we find it difficult to exist. But I want to thank you, most importantly, for the love you've shown me and APIS. We do not take it for granted. For the first time in my life as a Nigerian citizen, I stumbled into a conference, no, it wasn't really a conference, where I saw members of this organization with T-shirts, emblazoned on those T-shirts, Save the Naira, Fly APIS. And the next thing I saw again on the same date, where NANTA was officially saying, support our own. You cannot beat that patriotism. You have not only displayed your patriotic dispositions, you have equally contributed to the well-being of your country. I say this every time. Africa must be supported. Nigeria must be supported. This is a country of 220 million people. If you help to run our country down, the world should be ready for an explosion like no other before. If you help in bringing this country down, in any form of any kind, the world should be ready to face a kind of instability they've never known before. Where are you going to accommodate these 220 million people? So it should be not just the job of Nigerians to make sure that this country is kept together, but also the job of those trying to make us remain where we have been pre-1960. We will never accept it any longer. So today, we're here talking about unlocking Africa's economic potential and showcasing travel and tourism as a catalyst for doing that. I've been given the topic to talk about collaborative strategies in also unlocking the potentials that are embedded in SATIM. What is SATIM? SATIM is the single African air transport market. SATIM, as the name connotes, we unlock the potentials, the economic potentials of Africa. It means I can take off from Nigeria, go to Cote d'Ivoire, from there I go to Rwanda, from Rwanda I can go to South Africa, all over, unrestricted. Beautiful idea. A very noble cause. But it has got its own challenges and fears. If SATIM is properly implemented, Africa will benefit from that project. Nigerian Airlines, APIS inclusive, we are not against SATIM at all. We have never been against SATIM. It's a very noble idea. However, we are against the lopsided implementation of SATIN. It is not news that Nigeria is a beautiful bride for everyone in aviation. We, the airlines in Nigeria, we feel that in as much as we support SATIN, there must be a level playing field for everyone. A situation where this SATIN is being skewed in favor of other airlines outside Nigeria to the detriment of Nigerian airlines, to the detriment of the Nigerian economy, is totally unacceptable. I'll give you examples. We are mouthing SATIN and the noble advantages of SATIN. We are mouthing them. But in essence, the implementation is lopsided. A situation where these other African countries will come to my nation, come to Nigeria, unfettered. And when we apply to go to their own country, they stop you. Is that SATIN? A situation where a broader African country whose airline comes into your country 5 times a day, and that country writes you to say you cannot come. In writing. I've never seen such a stupid act. In writing. Until we threatened to go to court to stop their airline from coming into this place. And they now said, okay, you can now come. Another one, it took them 4 years within Africa. Within West Africa, not even Africa. Another airline. Let me spell them. Let me spell their name because I've talked about it on several fora. They didn't want us to come into their country. Meanwhile, the same airline comes into Nigeria from here to Accra, from here to everywhere, even nice stops in Lagos. And they didn't want our own airline to come to their country. When I felt we were not being protected, we decided to do it our own way. To go to court to stop that airline from coming to Nigeria. They quickly gave us the permit to come to their country. Then they waited for us over there. When you got there, they gave you the kind of charges that you will know that it will be very difficult for you to operate into their country. A situation where you're given a total of about $12,000 per landing. How do you want to go in there? Discriminatory charges. How do you want to go in there? And we are talking about unlocking Africa's economic potential. We are talking about collaborative strategies in order to enhance the advantages that are embedded in the single African air transport market. So you cannot implement SATIN in such a lopsided way and expect it to survive, to even work. And that is why some people thought we didn't want SATIN. We want SATIN. But to us in Nigeria, it's as if this SATIN was put up in order to access the Nigerian market and Nigerian market alone for the benefit of others other than Nigerians. And that is unacceptable to us. And at all times, we must fight such lopsidedness. So we seek collaboration. SATIN will work for everybody if we collaborate with each other. If we remove those restrictions that make it very difficult or impossible for this project to kick off. a situation whereby some of the Francophone countries, another thing they do to you is that they use ASECNA. I don't know how many of you that know ASECNA. Most of those countries are being controlled by France. They use ASECNA. At the end of the month, or maybe quarterly, or whenever they wake up, they send you their bill, overflight charges, running into millions of euros. You want to, let us sit on a round table. How did I incur this bill? They're not ready to talk to you. In the case of APIS, they made us make payments. When we made the payment, the next thing we had was that, that account you made payment to was no longer in existence. And the people managing it, they've been sacked. Is that my business? We are not joking here. See, this country, Nigeria, we must stand up to certain primordial stupidity and foolishness. And except we do it, this country will continuously be pillaged and dealt with by outside forces. Yet, my country is stigmatized. I've never seen a country as welcoming as Nigeria. Yet they stigmatize us, they take from you and they go outside and talk bad of you. So after making the payment, 2 years later, we got a court order asking us to pay about 4 million euros. How did I incur this amount and you know, one thing is certain. In aviation, there are lies you can't tell in aviation. If my aircraft takes off going to Banjul now, you can access it. You will know when and how, when, which day. We brought all the flights we did. And they stood their ground. And they went to France. We are talking about Africa. You're dealing with your neighboring countries within Africa. And to deal with you, they will go to France. And in France, they get judgment against you in a French court. And they'll be threatening to put a lien on your aircraft. Wherever they see your aircraft, they seize them. And they're not ready to even discuss with you. Tell me, how did I incur this? It's happening. And the next thing you hear, a Nigerian Airlines aircraft, we had to pay because nobody was there to protect us. And we are talking about SATIN. So if they don't get you through direct, using their ground handling services or other things to get you, it's only Ghana that you can say, everything is okay. The rest, especially the Francophone countries, you are in trouble. They get back to you through ASECNA, and I say it, if they like, then they'll not allow a piece to overfly their airspace. It's up to them. But what goes round comes round. I've told you people I've sacrificed myself for the love of my nation. But it comes with certain punishment. Let me just let you know that. All these things I'm doing, I don't want to expose to you the kind of things we suffer. But if that will emancipate my country, if my personal sacrifice could emancipate this country, could put us in a very better pedestal, I'm all for it. But it has to be said. So I thank Susan and her gang for choosing this particular topic. Collaboration. So what kind of collaboration are we doing? If your own African brothers are discriminating against a certain part of Africa or taking undue advantage of you, we have to pay. And some people will say, Alan, you better make this payment or they will embarrass your airline. You're not even given the opportunity to defend yourself, even in the so-called court. One-sided. I never signed any agreement with you that if I have any dispute with you, I'll go to a European nation. But this is what is happening in Africa. When will Africa be free? We are talking about unlocking Africa's economic potential. Nobody will unlock it for you except you Africans. And we must have to be deliberate. We must be deliberate in trying to formulate policies or do things that will help us conquer second colonialism. Maybe we are politically independent, but are we economically independent? So, the implementation of SATIM has been the problem. The only way we can collaborate, like the Rwandan ambassador made mention of it, our president here made mention of it, visa restrictions amongst African nations should be removed. I applaud your country, Rwanda. What they've done is something every other African nation should emulate. Allow Africans to travel to your country freely. The fears about insecurity, like he said, they do not come from the official borders. They can also collaborate on exchanging security information, but using that as an excuse to stop the growth of Africa is unacceptable. So I like the Rwandan experience. It's an experience others should imbibe. Visa restrictions. Another problem with the SATIM is there's no level playing field. Some countries feel that their airlines don't have the wherewithal, access to funding, cheap funding, access to cheap financing. So how do we develop our airlines? So they fear that these other African countries or some other African countries that have access to Afri-Exim, have access to African Development Bank, have access to US Exim Bank and others. Their capacity have been built so much that these other African nations might not have what it takes to compete with them. So they try to also block their country, and you don't blame them. For example, us in Nigeria, while others are borrowing money at 3%, the Nigerian airlines are borrowing at 35% presently. So how do you want to survive in that kind of climate? So we should try and narrow the gap. When we narrow the gap, collaboration becomes easier. You see, aviation is no longer elitist. It's even never elitist. It's a catalyst for economic development. And we cannot continue to pay lip service to it. This is the time to rise. This is the time to rise. We must make this affordable. How do we start making it affordable? One is the removal of certain charges and bills and costs that make it very expensive and makes it very unaffordable for the common man. Because if, for example, in Nigeria, you have about 37 charges on the airlines, and at the end of the day, the cost goes up, it trickles down to the flying public, and people will shout, these tickets are very expensive. So within the context of domestic travel, you see that the charges are so high. If you look at your ticket, at the end of the day, what comes to the airline out of 100,000 might be 15,000 naira. From there, you do your insurance, do your maintenance, do your salaries, everything. So for us to be in a position to compete in SATIM, we must look at the charges that these airlines within this nation are being forced to pay. A situation where your ticket fare, 5% already goes to NCA. And remember, this particular 5% is now part of our laws. It has become an act of the parliament. They put it there. And how did it come about? I think it was during Demuren's time as a DG NCA. There was no money to do something. So it was supposed to be a temporary thing. But now it has come to stay permanently. The question is, does any airline make 5% gain in this country? So you are dead on arrival, where a situation where you are made to pay 5% of your ticket fare. The question is, do you make 5% gain? And when you argue this, they tell you, oh, it's money you're collecting from the passenger. It is not. You didn't buy equipment for the airline. When you put all these charges, it will make the charges the fare so expensive to the extent that the airline will not be able to add more money to get something tangible for running of its operations. So government should look at these things. And thankfully, the Minister of Aviation is here today. And you have a listening government, you have a listening president in President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, and I'm sure he will do something about this because he means well for indigenous investments in this country. Now I go clap for our president. Again, I know my time is up, but once again, I want to thank all of you. Like my brother said, a few months ago, many Nigerians found it difficult traveling. What happened to this country in the last 1 year and a half is total astonishing. If you use the word extortion, you are right. What happened to this country in the last 1.5 years? Totally unacceptable. Nigerians must learn a lesson from that. Everything was blamed on the dollar. How did the dollar get to that level? A situation where someone is supposed to take 10 naira and the person is taking 80 naira from you, blaming it on the dollar. At the end of the day, goes to the market with so much largesse and buying that dollar at any amount and making your country's currency look stupid. Unacceptable. We must protect our naira. We must protect our country. I don't care who is listening to me who does not like my face. We must protect our country. Every country protects their own. We must forget airpeace. It's not about airpeace. It's not about airpeace. If you like, don't buy airpeace ticket now. Nobody cares. But what I care is that now you're going to buy, mind you, I'm not against anybody buying British Airways, buying Virgin Atlantic, buying Qatar, buying Ethiopia, buying Air Maroc to go to London. We are not against it. But my happiness today is that you're buying it at the right price. For how long are you going to be fooled as a nation? For how long are we going to be fooled? We were fooled for almost 2 years, demeaning our government, telling everybody, even the federal government of Ahmed Bola Tinubu suffered in the hands of these exorbitant affairs. Each time any Nigerian was, excuse me please, each time any Nigerian was going to buy a business class ticket for a 6-hour flight for 17 million, for 16 million. I'm not talking about what I don't know. My own self, my own daughter traveled on that kind of fare. 14 million, 15 million, and everything is blamed on the dollar. The government was made to look very bad. Each time any Nigerian went to the market to buy economy ticket for 5 million, they said, Ahmed Bola Tinubu cost it. And what happened a month ago? The dollar was still 1,687. Airpeace could have said, okay, this we are charging 15, 16 million for business class. Let us take 10 million. We would have cashed in on the situation. The far-flung airlines also cashed in on the situation. Taking maybe 7 million, 8 million for business. Oh, you say, oh, they are cheaper for business class. They took 3 million or 2 point something, or maybe, oh, they are cheaper than the ones going direct. Everyone was cashed in on your country to the detriment of your economy. We want to exist side by side foreign airlines. I'm not against foreign interests. I want them to operate. Nigerian Airlines alone cannot do it. That is the truth. But we want a situation where the well-being of our country is taken into consideration too. It affected all of you members of NANTA. It affected all of you. Your business nosedived. The business of the country nosedived. While some people were cutting away like jazz and going to the market and making the dollar go up every day, because if you tell them 3,000 naira to a dollar, they will buy. If you divide 3,000 naira, if they say 2,000 naira to the dollar, and you've already taken 15 million. If you divide that by 2, you're already getting about 2,000. You're already still getting about $8,000, which is also higher than what it should be, twice higher. So any amount you give them the dollar, they will take. And the thing was affecting the dollar, and the government of the country was being demeaned in the eyes of their citizenry. It is unfair. That was unfair to this government. And when this happened, the dollar has not changed from 1.6 within 48 hours because Nigerians started canceling their flights. That was what drew down everybody to come down. Nigerians were canceling their flights within 48 hours. We were almost fully booked for the next 3 days. People were canceling flights and using what they paid for 2 people to buy for their entire family. And they were alarmed. And they had to come down by force. And some people want to give other narratives to douse that. We are not being fooled. So now I say congratulations, Nigeria, not to Air Peace. I say congratulations to Nigeria. And let every other Nigerian learn from this. We could have decided to join and cash in on it, but we refused because where are you going to go with this money? When you go into your grave, nobody knows about your purse anymore. When you go into your grave, nobody will ask you about your bank account. But it's the legacies you leave behind. God bless you all.
The outside people want to celebrate you. Thank you, thank you. Now, my brothers from the north wants to also say their own. So, Naka, say Naka. Follow me. Okay,
Naka say Naka means yours is your own. So Air Peace is our own. 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 Naka say Naka. Naka say Naka. Naka say Naka. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Please, in my emotive, my emotions, I want to say something. Please, I want to use this opportunity to thank the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, for supporting indigenous investment. This London thing couldn't have been possible without the support of the federal government. The Minister of Aviation, Keyamo, was sent by the government to make sure everything was okay. And that was what gave us the confidence. And that really helped. If you go to the streets of London, all those videos we are seeing on the streets of London was done by the federal government of Nigeria. That is not us. We were surprised when we saw it. If he belonged as a citizen of your country, it has never happened this way before. I'm very grateful to Keyamo and Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, let's keep clapping until he gets to his seat. Thank you very, very much, sir. I'm Ambassador, I'm going to be chopping into your time because we have a very small time that we have on our hands right now. We need to go to the marketplace and sell. So without further ado, I would like to recognize the presence of the SA to Lagos State Governor on Tourism, Honorable Idris Aregbe. Is he around here? Honorable Idris Aregbe. Honorable Idris Aregbe. Oh, he's not here yet. Idris. Okay, not Idris. Okay. Idris Aregbe. Okay, whilst we wait for him, first of all, let me also take this opportunity to thank my Kano brothers. You took very good care of me last year in Kano at the AGM. I'd like to thank you. Before I went to Kano last year, I was not looking this beautiful. It was the Fura de Nunu that you gave me in Kano. So I'd like to thank you so very much for taking care of me in Kano. Rankedere, nagode, nagode, nagode. Without further ado, I'd like to call on the ambassador of Namibia to please come up stage to come and give his own keynote address. Please help me celebrate His Excellency Ambassador Humphrey Gaze. Please keep clapping until he gets here. He has promised to use 10 minutes. Celebrate him as he used 10 minutes.
Thank you, Master of Ceremonies. Madam President, Mrs. Susan, the members of the executive, former presidents of NANTA, all the members of NANTA, Dr. Chief Alan Onjema. If this meeting was taking place in Namibia, I would have called you Comrade Alan Onjema, because the term comrade is a special term in Namibia for all participants of the economic struggle, and we take it as a serious commendation. All the protocol observed, my colleague, the High Commissioner of Rwanda. First of all, I want to congratulate NANTA for choosing this theme, because NANTA could simply have said unlocking Nigeria's economic potential. But NANTA is visionary, looking at the continental agenda and really calling this meeting to look at the whole continent. We are very grateful for that, because it means the conclusions of this conference will be equally valid for Namibia. Secondly, I want to congratulate NANTA, because if you look across the room, the majority of members here are women. I hope I am correct in that assessment. In Namibia, we have a policy called zebra policy, where our ruling party always wants to ensure that positions of leadership are divided between men and women equally, 50-50. If you look at the zebra animal, it has got white and black stripes. So the party believes leadership should be equally divided between men and women, the zebra policy. I would basically skip my prepared remarks and endorse what Chief Alan Onjema was saying, that yes, today African countries have achieved political independence, but invariably all of us have embarked on an economic struggle. The struggle to emancipate our people and provide them with livelihoods, the struggle to take ownership of our resources, the struggle to take ownership of our destinies. If you go to Namibia, you will be surprised that you are here in a country that flies the African flag and the Namibian flag, because we believe in the collective destiny of this continent. It's not just a dream. We believe it. That's why you will see we do not just fly the Namibian flag. Yes, we fly it, but alongside our flag, we will always fly the flag of the African Union, because we believe in the destiny, the collective destiny of the people of this continent. So we will always uphold that. Secondly, I can also inform you that Namibia and Nigeria are very close. The leaders of this country spoke on behalf of the oppressed people of Namibia when Namibia was not free, and they have really been joining the rest of the continent to agitate for Namibia's freedom. So the actions and efforts of the leaders of Nigeria will always be appreciated, and we will never forget the contribution Nigeria made for Namibia's independence. It was in recognition of that collective destiny, as well as the efforts of the leaders of Nigeria, that we decided that Air Namibia should be flying to Accra and Lagos, so that travelers from these two countries or from West Africa are able to connect to Namibia and other Southern African countries. Unfortunately, our dreams didn't saw the light of day. Air Namibia was flying here for 2019 successfully, but some of you who were on those flights will remember the load factor was quite minimal. Some of the flights in the Airbus were only 8 people, 10 people. At the end of the day, the flight really was not sustainable. But overall, as a business, Air Namibia was not really profitable, and government could no longer bail out Air Namibia, and today Air Namibia no longer exists. But that doesn't stop our dream of bringing travelers from Nigeria, Ghana, and West Africa to Namibia. We will still continue doing that. So in terms of unlocking economic potential, in Namibia we have exempted around 60 countries from visa requirements. Some African countries, some European countries, and countries throughout the world. But more and more, we are also providing visa on arrival to many African countries. Unfortunately, Nigeria is not part of them, because where we have diplomatic missions, we expect people to apply for visas with those countries, with those offices. So you will see that we are providing online visas, we are providing visa on arrival for a lot of African countries, and we feel that this will increase the arrival of tourists from African countries as well as many other countries from the world. We also have speed up the 24-hour operation of border posts. When you are, for example, traveling by road from South Africa to Namibia, most of our border posts would be open 24 hours, and you will have a seamless connection. I also want to mention that sometimes Nigerians will see there is a lot of talk of online visas or visa on arrival and connect with us to confirm. It doesn't apply to Nigerians. Nigerians will continue for the time being to apply with the office in Asokoro. And so far, I have not yet encountered any Nigerian who had a problem applying with our visas. There are 3,000 Nigerians living in Namibia. So far, only 30 or 40 Namibians are living in Nigeria. So you will see there is a lot of travel between Namibia and Nigeria, and we hope it will increase. Annually, Namibia gets around 800 to 1,000 travelers from Nigeria to Namibia. Our wish is that this number must increase to around 3,000, 4,000, so that we can be happy that Nigerians are traveling to Namibia. I again repeat, whenever I speak to Nigerians, I always invite them to please inform us, what is the number one experience for which Nigerians are going to Namibia? Is it sausage flay, our dunes in the desert, in the Death Valley, or is it Etosha, or is it other tourism sites? So whenever you see me, please take your time and let me know, so that we can increase the focus around those priority tourism sites that Nigerians are prioritizing. In terms of Nigeria and Namibia, some of you might say that Namibia is a country that is very far, 5 hours from here. But actually, we are not very far. We are in your kitchens. Some of you may know a salt called Mr. Chef. Mr. Chef gets 90% of his salt from Namibia. It is refined in Lekki, and then it is marketed here in Nigeria. And we are happy that by trading amongst ourselves, we can unlock our economic potential. There is no other way, hopefully, than trading amongst ourselves where we can produce African products and consume African products to unlock our economic potential. So many of you, please just know that Mr. Chef is indeed salt that is coming from Namibia to Nigeria. And once you buy that, you will be supporting our friendship. I also want to finally thank Mrs. Susan and all the colleagues, my elder Igechi, for working with us. Actually, before I came here on Monday, I was in Taraba, where I spent closely 22 hours traveling from Jalingo to Wakari to attend the Munjo Fish Festival, and then from Wakari to Gembu, and from Gembu again back to Jalingo. I think that Nigeria has a huge potential for domestic tourism, and that more and more domestic tourism, just like in Namibia, is something that should be harnessed for economic development as well as for unlocking our economic potential. Actually, in Namibia's case, one of the good parts of COVID was that we managed to realize the potential of domestic tourism. Because when you have lockdown, no foreign tourists are coming in, and your own tourists within the country manage to travel inside the country to visit tourism sites and thereby keep them, many of them, economically viable. So in Nigeria's case, this country, as I said, has a huge potential for domestic tourism, and it is my hope that more and more those domestic tourism sites will enjoy popularity. We are also frequently using airfares for travel in Nigeria, and we assure our friend, Dr. Allen Onjema, that Namibia is actually in full support of SADAM. The misgivings of SADAM can still continue to be addressed by all Africans collectively to ensure a win-win outcome for all operators. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Nanda. Hopefully, I will be here next year before I take leave from this great country, the giant of Africa, after having stayed close to 5 years here in Nigeria. Thank you. Nangode Dalu Ushe.
No, he didn't say Uche, he said Oshe. That's what he said. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. Once again, let us celebrate this gentleman, a diplomat par excellence, the High Commissioner of Namibia in Nigeria. Sir, when you were outside, I recognized your presence, sir. The Senior Assistant to Lagos State Government on Tourism. I was corrected because I called you Idris. They said it's not Idris, it's Idris. Idris Aregbe. Please help me celebrate the Special Advisor to Lagos State Government on Tourism. I have a confession. I like this, your cap. It's very fine. Anytime I see you on TV, I say, I like this couple. Maybe I should come and look for you and get one day, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming. We also have with us now the Regional Manager for Lagos NCCA, Barrister Bukola Teriba, is representing Captain Chris Najoma, sorry, forgive me. You know, this is my hair sometimes. The GGCANCCA. Madam, you're welcome. Please let me celebrate her. Where's she? Oh, thank you so much for coming. They didn't tell me that you are this gorgeous. They just told me that she's... thank you so much for coming. Okay. I have begged Oga Ikechi because we want to go to market. We want to go and sell something. But you see, the truth of the matter is, I have had this man spoke severally, and it is not a right thing to do if you have him in the house and not allow him to talk. So I've decided, they said I should give him 20 minutes. I gave him 30 minutes. That he will talk for 30 minutes and just take us through. Sir, if I get here, it means you have 10 minutes more. If I come here, it means you have 2 minutes more. If I come near you, it means you have to leave the stage. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to the stage Ambassador Ikechi Oko. Please keep celebrating until he comes on stage. Is my Egbon, intelligent, the word Ogaju.
He's spoiling my bad name. Honorable Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, represented by Hassan Ejibunu. Debbie, bring your other magazine, your other book. Odogunwo Kanyi. You know, in America, they have what they call Captain America, right? He comes to defend them. He's a mythical character. But in Nigeria, we have Captain Nigeria, who happens to be a human being. He's not a myth. He does exist. So before I recognize other people, can we give a round of applause to Dr. Allen Onyema? Please, oblige me. The special advisor to the governor of Lagos State, you're welcome. The man who, for a long time, held me by the hand and dragged me through everything NANTA did. Oga Dayo, is this the chairman of the BOT, the president of NANTA, my Oga, fellow BOT on FTAN, the ambassadors from Rwanda and Namibia. I welcome you all today. And for every other, and my president from FTAN, I welcome everybody and all stakeholders that are here. I can see in Bali, you're welcome. So, my paper today will be on identifying businesses, trade and investment prospects in emerging Africa travel and tourism market. I like history. And in the times of the Romans, anywhere they take over, they build the Cardo Maximus. The Romans owned that street. And the Roman shops are on both sides of the road. A little bit away is your territory. But everything on that particular road is Roman. Because the Romans believe they put the Appian Way that leads all the way to Rome. Trade doesn't work without travel. They open a place, they determine where the place thrives or not. If you have been to Petra in Jordan, people wondered why Petra was not known until a particular time in history. Because the Romans didn't do very good business with the Nabateans, so they decided to build an alternative road that cut off Petra. If you grew up in Sapele, I didn't. In the 60s and 70s, Sapele was a very popular town, right? But today we talk about Warri. Nobody remembers Sapele. Do you know what happened? They built a road that cut off Sapele. So the power of connection, trade, and access, they are all intertwined. While studying to put this paper together, I saw something that happened over the weekend. The president of Uganda visited Kenya. He went to Mombasa. And He said he wants to unify Kenya and Uganda. Why is the president marketing that? 500,000 Kenyans visited Uganda last year. 200,000 Kenyans visited Kenya. 500,000 is a large number. Kenya is a bigger economy. So Kenyans going to Uganda, they are not economic migrants. South Africa and Zimbabwe had similar numbers. But South Africans will tell you, oh, those Zimbabweans are not tourists. They are here for economic reasons. Because that is the other country where you have those huge numbers visiting each other. Between Nigeria and Ghana, we don't do more than 200,000. So you could see how powerful those numbers of Kenyans visiting Uganda is to the economy of Uganda for the president to decide to go to create the so-called Ugandan Week. I know why Kenyans go to Uganda, but let's not talk about it. There is a speech, something I wanted to read for everybody here before I go straight into my topic. A news that came out yesterday. Fairplanet.org says, non-African visitors have found it easier to travel within Africa than Africans themselves. Up to 50% cheaper to fly from Africa to Europe and back to Africa or through UAE than to fly within the continent, supposedly. African countries trade to trade more with nations outside Africa than with each other, according to studies. This has brought about quite a lot of discussions, and African Union has put up particular tools to handle that. But as today, only 28% of African routes allowed Africans to travel visa-free in Africa in 2023. This is according to the Visa Openness Report. And this is better than 20% that we recorded in 2016. Seychelles, Benin, Gambia, and Rwanda are the leading nations in visa openness in Africa. Now, let me tell you the consequence of these particular statistics we have shared. The Kenyan president, who seems to have learned from the Rwandan president and is driving this openness, though to the benefit of Kenya. Kenya seems to take advantage of every opportunity. Kenya doesn't send soldiers for peacekeeping, but immediately there is peace, Kenya takes over the economy of those countries. And they have played everybody. Netanyahu's brother died at Entebbe. You remember the raid of Entebbe? Yoni. But when Netanyahu was flying to Uganda, he did a stopover in Kenya. All the stories all over the world that came out was about his visit to Kenya, not about going to the memorial for his brother. Pope. Every pope has to go to Uganda. If you know the stories of the Ugandan martyrs, every pope has to go to Uganda. But when the pope was going to Uganda, he did a stopover in Kenya. Every story in the world came out about his visit to Kenya. Nothing happened in Uganda. Obama was going to Addis Ababa for a Boeing stuff. He did a stopover in Nairobi. And all the stories that came out was about what happened in Kenya, not what happened in Addis Ababa. Then they did it to the big nation, Nigeria. A certain guy called Mark Zuckerberg was coming to Nigeria, the biggest Facebook nation. Then he came here. They said he wasn't wearing a jacket, so he can't see our president. So he went to Kenya, maybe to go buy a jacket before coming back. And in Kenya, he went to eat ugali. Then he flew back with a jacket to see our president. The stories that came out of the visit was that Nigerians claimed he came to eat pounded yam, but he went to Kenya and ate ugali. They dominated the news with the ugali story. They've done it to us many times. You know Naomi Campbell, Wizkid's so-called girlfriend. They took her and used her as their tourism ambassador, and she used the Nigerian music to sell Kenya. So a lot of people take advantage. Ruto is now driving that vision more than any other president in Africa, taking after what the Rwandan president has done. And this is his quote. When people cannot travel, business people cannot travel, entrepreneurs cannot travel, we all became net losers in Africa. According to the 2018, now this is not his quote, Visa Openness Result. Open borders help growing tourism and investment and overall GDP. As the report says, 18 out of the 20 most open African countries saw improvement in their ranking in World Bank Ease of Doing Business. All 20 countries experienced growth in tourism and travel, GDP and investment. Rwanda is the biggest beneficiary of all of these things. So it is necessary that Africa becomes one, and Africans can begin to take advantage of the huge population of Africa. The Odogu himself kept talking about our large population. That is 200 million. Africa is 1.4, 1.5, 1.7, depending on who is counting. If you come to tourism, Americans, 80% of Americans, they say, don't have passports. But America gets huge numbers doing tourism. Florida gets more tourists than the whole of Africa put together. And most of them are domestic tourists. France gets more tourists than the whole of Africa put together. France is a small country. So how come we have 1.2, 1.4, 1.5 billion people and we can't create trillionaires? Why is it that all the billionaires that emerged in Nigeria emerged when we opened and reformed our economy in post-Obasanjo years? Because we are able to access more of a larger market. Almost all Nigerian billionaires were homegrown. It is now they are using our money to open up branches outside Africa, outside Nigeria. A report just came out today that 3,500 millionaires from Africa has relocated to Dubai in the last 10 years. And they came largely from 3 countries. I'm sure you know who is one of them. So, in Africa, we have a huge population. How do we take advantage of this population to grow our business and everything we do? I will start from the known to the unknown. The known businesses in Africa that are thriving as are today across borders. Agro-business. Every country in Africa is moving food from one region to the other. If you are in Kano, Kano supplies cereals to Mauritania, Central African Republic, quite a lot of companies. I'm the chairman of the Avia Cargo Group in FAN. And part of the studies we did is that all those trucks takes 2 weeks to get to Mauritania. The ones going to CAR have to pay duties to bandits on the way. But the 737 flying 4 times a day or 5 times a day can deliver quite a lot of that. So I know there's a lot of movement of agro-business in Africa. I actually have a Kenyan friend, Charity, who runs a farm in Tanzania. So for export. Quite a lot of people, we went to Ghana. So-called Ghana yam, produce of Ghana, is actually Puna yam from Nigeria that is moved by the truck, packaged because they have RA trade licensing, and it goes abroad. So when you buy yam in Europe that says produce of Ghana, is Nigerian yam repackaged there. So we actually also know that cocoa, Ghana is not producing enough. So they buy from Nigeria, repackage it, they sell better at a higher price. So agro-business is already thriving across borders. You could also get into that. Banking started with South Africa banks, but today Nigerian banks, Kenyan banks, and Moroccan banks are the guys running all over Africa doing very good business. That's doing very well. Travels, we don't need to talk about Air Peace, Ethiopian Airline, and the rest of them. They are all doing very good business across Africa. We have in communications, borderless. TV, movies, telecom companies. Biggest telecom company in West Africa is a South African company. Biggest in East Africa, Safaricom, the guys who introduced M-Pesa and the rest of them. And DSTV is the biggest carrier. DSTV in Nigeria is actually bigger than DSTV elsewhere. Then you have events, which is nearer our own area of control. We have global events, big events here that bring people from everywhere. Essence in South Africa, you have the one I want to attend. Unfortunately, the High Commissioner from Uganda is not there. Yege. It's a little bit funny, but I would be doing it this year. Then you have the Carnival Calabar, and you have the Afrochella in Ghana. These are events that are already bringing people. Then let's go to religious tourism. In religious tourism, this is where Africa has done well with nobody's help. We all know TB Joshua, right? He filled so many planes, bringing people. He was the biggest tourism attraction in Nigeria. That's 10 minutes. Okay. Then we have Sheikh Nias of Tijaniya from Senegal. He's massive. Then you have the Ugandan Matthias. You have the Redeemed Church of Christ. Then we have schools. Most of you don't know that one of the biggest businesses going on in Africa is connecting schools in Africa. Educational tourism is massive. I know someone that sends close to 1,000 students to Kenya every year. And he has different options for them to move. So, what are the opportunities for us to begin to do businesses, which is why I'm here. So I go straight to that. The first thing I have noticed is that in logistics, there is something called first mile and last mile. The opportunities in the first mile and the last mile across Africa is massive. Ethiopian Airlines just built an e-commerce center. All the goods, the Gen Zs order everything online. If it's possible to get a wife online, they will order. They actually do. Everything comes into an e-commerce hub, and it has to be distributed. So non-Africans are setting up platforms to have to distribute things that are coming to Africa. So in the next 5 years, e-commerce and those last mile business will be the biggest thing, easiest way to make money out of Africa. So this is a huge opportunity. You already have online platform, you have skills, you have global power, you can get into that. The other thing that is a huge opportunity for people in travel business to do is medical tourism. In medical tourism, it is what I said there are two types of tourism in the world, optional and obligatory. Obligatory is that you must go. So if you check the top 5 destinations out of Nigeria, they are mostly obligatory. So Nigerians must go. If you're sick, you're sick. If you can afford it, you go to the best place. Religion, if you have to go to Mecca, you have to go to Mecca. If you can afford it, you have to go. So medical tourism is an obligatory form of tourism. And Kenya, Ghana, South Africa, Nigeria, Morocco, Kenya, Egypt, and co. give you options across the African continent. You have Turkey, you have Dubai, you have India, which is traditional. So medical tourism is an opportunity for new businesses. But I'll restrict myself to Africa. All of you are OTAs. Most people own OTAs. But there is a package that most people, except Wakana that have seen, has not tapped into. And that is online ticketing of events. The biggest force driving growth in Africa is entertainment. This entertainment gets lots of people. If you sell 20,000 tickets for any event in Lagos and you just make 100 naira. And I know people that do that in Ghana, in Lagos, and there are these massive events, church events. So you already are doing online ticketing, but you have not tapped the event market. So if your church is doing anything, why don't you take the opportunity, get your hands dirty, and start online ticketing of events in Africa? All of you know that the biggest website in Nigeria is something called Bet Naija, right? Or you don't gamble, you don't play Bet Naija or so, but then a huge number of people use it. Online gaming and gambling on events are massive. One of the biggest investments in aviation in Nigeria is from a gambling company because they have huge cash flow, so they use it to buy planes, even if one of the planes are parked and not being used. So another opportunity for people in this business is to go to online gaming and gambling. Then you wear your adire and Ankara in East Africa. Everybody wants a copy. So I've gone to Kenya many times this year. There is no time I'm going, I don't carry like 10 pieces or 5 pieces to go give to some friends. I've just called the tailor. He has made another one because I'm going back next week and I have to give them. So fashion products are things that could be sold across Africa. If 200 million people produce 5 out of the top 10 billionaires in Africa, imagine selling to 1.4 billion people. How many billionaires we could produce? So protecting yourself in Africa and trying to sell within your small country won't help you. It is okay, but I'll tell you why. The ferry services on Lake Victoria is a huge opportunity. Ferry services in Congo DRC, low-cost carriers in Congo and the CIMAC area are also huge opportunities. Payment platforms across the borders. Most of us who use Kenya, we know one guy that will pay money and he transfers it for us. A huge opportunity for people who do that. Insurance across borders. Specialization is key. And if you do not specialize, you will not be able to sell across the borders. I don't want to talk about the event, but West Africa decided that 5 events were the mega events in West Africa to support ECOWAS. Roots Festival in the Gambia for diaspora engagement, Dakar in Senegal for visual art, FESPACO in Ouagadougou for movies and videos, Panafest in Ghana for African cultural engagement, Akwaba in Nigeria for tourism and travel. But there are gaps. There is no book fair. There is no high life event. So there are gaps across Africa that any one of us could plug in and do it. I do events in Nigeria, Ghana, and Gambia because I've built skills that I could deploy across borders. Now, you all remember Hilda Bassi, right? She won the Guinness Book for Cookathon for what she did. And immediately after, 100 Africans started copying and tried to repeat. There's another Nigerian called Tunde Onokayo. He did the chess own. Have you heard of anybody trying to go and do the chess? Why? Because it is a specialized product that needs a lot of intellect. If what you're doing doesn't need any kind of ring fencing or skill, everybody will copy you in Africa. We like easy things. We like mediocrity. Sorry to say that. But it is not possible for anybody to compete with Tunde Onokoya because what he did needs quite a lot of skill and intellectual capacity to do. So most Africans will copy anything. If you need to survive in Africa, specialize your product, ring-fence it. These are my recommendations. He's coming nearer, so I'll run it quickly. The recommendations to do all of this is 2 types. The first one is the role of the individual. What would you do yourself to be able to tap these opportunities that are in Africa? You have to develop a unique product that can be scaled around the nations. Master your own immediate environment and try your product for at least 3 years in your own country. You have to gain dominance of your own market. If Airpeace cannot dominate Nigeria, they cannot dominate anywhere. So they need to own mastery of their own immediate environment. But in Nigeria, everybody gives himself an aspirational title, African this. If you go to Owerri, everything is Interbiz. If you go to Aba, every business is international. If you go to Onitsha market, everybody is importer and exporter, but they only import, they don't export. So we can give ourselves aspirational titles. Somebody does an African, so-called African event. All the people who attend are from his neighborhood. What is African about that? So let us not begin to pursue things that are beyond you from the beginning. You will fail. Adopt your product to fit the environment you want to enter, but first gain mastery. Now, collaboration is important, everybody says. But how do you collaborate with someone who offers you nothing? You have to bring something to the table. So you name every day, we need to collaborate, we need to collaborate. What is the collaboration about? What are you bringing for me? you have to give me something for me to take something from you. Now, the most important thing, which is the biggest problem, is the role of government. And I cannot emphasize more on that. Government plays a huge role to create that possibility. Visa openness is also something we inherited from our colonial masters who needed to protect their own neighborhood. So they sold us old wives' tales that created stereotypes and xenophobic beliefs which every African is guilty of. I have been around Africa many times, and I can tell you, I have enjoyed myself around Africa. There is no African country that doesn't harbor this fear of the foreigner. So we need to be able to change that. And it depends on what we are told. And we need to begin to walk about opening ourselves. I'm here, happy my brother Alan is here, the Odogu himself. Airline access is the biggest problem in Africa. It is, we keep talking about it every day. It is almost impossible to move around West Africa. East Africa is working. Why? Almost every country there has an airline. The reason why Tanzania and Uganda have not signed SATEM is because of the fact they just launched their airline and they are the youngest, so they need to protect. But movement in East Africa is easy. In West Africa, with all the airlines we have, we are still not able to connect most nations. So airline business is also very important. I will leave you with 3 things. Increase frequency of communal events will help Africa. During the AFCON in January and February, we were one continent. We yapped each other. We insulted each other, but we felt together. We even told the South Africans that they have to give up the Grammy and Amapiano so that we can stop beating them in football. We yapped Ghana, and they called us Generator Republic. We called the other one Cameroon Pepe. So Africa needs more communal events to bring us together. We have to fight foreign-generated stereotypes. There is something called developmental journalism in Africa that BBC and co do. They look for your weak point and make it a news. IDP problem in Nigeria, killing of hunchbacks in Malawi, killing of albinos. So this is so-called development journalism, but it kills and debrands and demarkets African countries. And if we're able to fight this and kill xenophobia, we are able to create a future that we want for our children and for ourselves. Nobody is coming to help us in Africa. We are the ones we have been waiting for. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ambassador, just sit down. I'm going to be calling Dr. Sir. Please, I want you to come up. We have a panel session now, and Ambassador, please come up. We're going to have a short panel session. Ambassador.